Thank you all very much for having me. My name is Alfie and I'm from Chelsea Football Club. Someone did say their brother supports Chelsea. Any other Chelsea fans? Yeah, a few at the back. Probably the wrong side of London. We're probably closer to Arsenal. Yes, I am actually a Chelsea fan. I'll tell you a bit about myself. I've been working in professional football for around 5 years now. Previously to working at Chelsea, I worked at Huddersfield Town Foundation, working on programs in the communities to divert young people from crime. Now my remit sits under equality and diversity, and we do a lot of programs, and I manage a lot of programs and projects that tackle a lot of issues. Before I get into myself and what we're going to do today, I'm glad we've got loads of numbers here, and hopefully we are all chatty. I know what I'm like. I can't really keep my focus when I'm sitting at a table and we've got a guest speaker. So what I have for the next 90 seconds, I've got some Premier League flashcards on your table. You're going to put yourself in a hot seat. You've got 10 seconds each to the debate, to answer the question, put your thoughts, put your opinions, put your beliefs. Okay, if you can just freeze where we are, please. Perfect. Hopefully that got our minds thinking. Like I said, just some flashcards, a little hot seat, put yourself on a spot and get our minds thinking outside of the box. Hi, guys. Today we are going to be looking at discrimination and racism within football. Unfortunately, it's rife, not only within communities, within schools, but unfortunately within sport that a lot of us love. A bit about myself and what I do at Chelsea. So, like I said, I manage our E&D programs across the foundation. So my actual job title, if we're going to get political, is Senior Equality and Diversity Officer. We have kind of 4 pillars at Chelsea that we focus on. We have a No to Hate campaign, which we formed in the mid kind of 2021 when Reece James, one of our young superstars, received racial abuse. The owners at the time said, you know what, we're not standing for this no more. We need to start doing more within communities, more across staff, more across players, the academy, the women's team, more support to fans, so on and so forth. And kind of under that No to Hate umbrella that we deliver on is these kind of 4 strands. So first of all, female inequality. We partner with our club sponsors, Trivago, and we deliver a program called Empower, which is about mentoring, so upskilling Trivago staff and providing career aspirations and opportunities to young women. It's coming to International Women's Day, so that's a big focus for us at the club. We don't ever like to be tokenistic, and because it's coming to International Women's Day, let's just put a tweet out and look like we're just supporting it and not really having anything in depth. So we provide opportunities to empower our staff, empower the young women that we work with, ensuring that we're building allies across young men so we understand about language, our position as a guy or a young man to support those women around us. We also look at PDCs, which are player development centres, to encourage more participation with women within sport and in particular football, trying to embed to get towards the women's team. Like I said, I'm a Chelsea fan. There's a few hands up that was Chelsea fans. Our women's team are actually probably more successful than the men's team in the last 10 years. We've won the league back to back the last 4 or 5 years. Doubles, trebles. We're currently sitting at the top of the table. I can't really say that for the men's team. So it's actually raising awareness of representation and visibility of women across the club. I'm going to come back to religious intolerance. The next strand that we look at is the LGBTI plus community, so supporting people with a vast, varied identities. We do that through the Rainbow Laces campaign, so that's working with the Premier League to support players, to educate our academy, to educate across the stadium and fans about the language that we use. We have a lot of club values at Chelsea. I'm sure within your schools, within your education remit, you have wide values. And one that always sticks with me that we want to make sure at Chelsea Football Club that everyone's valued, welcomed, and safe. And unfortunately, we're seeing the discrimination and hate of people from varied communities, what they face. Linking into what we're going to be doing today, we are going to be discussing racism and religious intolerance. So what we do what we do to connect with religious intolerance, we focus on a variety of different themes and issues, from Islamophobia to anti-Semitism. It's recently been Holocaust Memorial Day, so we might partner with Kick It Out, and it's coming up to the March of Living ceremony in Poland, so Chelsea will support with that. We educate across schools, across communities. We have a vast history of Chelsea. If I'm honest, we haven't got the best reputation across our fan base, so we want to do education across our fans to actually show we're a face-forwarding club, and anyone is welcome at the club. Last but not least, unfortunately, our biggest strand that we do focus on is racism. Like I said, our No to Hate campaign came, unfortunately, from a player being racially abused. We deliver programs in schools, from primary to secondary and sixth forms, such as our This Is Us program, which looks at using the power of drama, arts, and performance to educate around some of the issues. Once again, other campaigns such as Black History Month, they're very vital at Chelsea Football Club because that's our opportunity to showcase what we do across the board. And when I say across the board, when we think of football clubs, sometimes we just think of the luxury that the players have, nice holidays, fast cars, higher wages. But actually, there's more than 11 people on that pitch. What opportunities are we providing for staff? How are we raising awareness across different fans? And how are we supporting our local communities? I want to kind of pose a question to you guys, just so I can understand what kind of level we're thinking at when we think of the word discrimination. I'd like you to just have a discussion on your table. What does the word discrimination mean to you? Is there any key buzzwords? Can you think of any themes? Do you have any opinions or experiences? And I don't mind if one or two people in a minute or two just mind sharing with the room. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. This is where I'm going to start putting someone on the spot. Would any of you like to share what your discussion may have been? Have you, not even necessarily personal experiences, but what comes to mind when you think of discrimination? Thank you. I'm not sure if everyone knows your name in the room, but please introduce yourself and let the crowd know.
I'm Githika, and I think discrimination is treating someone differently because of their protective characteristics.
Perfect, thank you. So if we look at the Equality Act 2010, like I said, I'm not going to go all political and scientific, but we do have thank you. We do have a right of protected characteristics which hopefully prevent the mistreatment. Brief description that we have, so there's actually discrimination is deemed to be an imbalance of power. So someone thinking they're better than someone else based upon their characteristics. Some that you may mention under the Equality Act are protected characteristics. So it could be our race, our gender, our nationality, so on and so forth. If anything, it's a mistreatment. It's prejudice. So having a preconceived opinion about someone and hatred without any facts or opinions. That's probably not the clearest to see on the screen. I'll just talk you through. So when we think specifically around racism, which is what we're focusing on today, there's kind of 4 tiers and 4 roots of racism that we see. So the first one, we have structural racism. I can't even see that on my board myself. Institutional racism, interpersonal racism, and internalized racism. When we think specifically of sport, and I can share all these slides so everyone can have a base understanding. When we speak of football, when we think of sport, unfortunately, it's more interpersonal and internalized racism. So it's hate between 2 individuals. That could be a racial slur, a message or a video image posted online. That could be a chant. That could be physical harassment, direct discrimination to someone based upon the color of their skin. When we think about racism, we often think just black and white. Pardon the pun, it isn't as black and white as it may sound. It's discriminating and hating someone based upon their nationality, their heritage, their ethnicity, their culture, based off their religion as well, as we know, and their skin color. I'd like you to have a think now, another conversation, just to get our minds in particular more to sport and football. Can you think of any incidences that you've either seen on TV, online? You might have been live at a game. You might have an experience yourself whilst playing sport that has ended up in either discrimination or a form of racism. You've got about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. We will get one or more people sharing. Thankfully, we do have our first volunteer to share the answer down on the bottom right. So please share with the group what was their example of racism within football that you guys were discussing.
My name's Rohana, and when it was a football game, right?
Yep.
And Rashford, Saka, and Sancho got racially discriminated.
Perfect, thank you. So the experience, did anybody watch the Euros? Yeah, unfortunately, England didn't bring it home, even though we always think we did. The Lionesses did, though, the women's team in the summer. Unfortunately, the 3 players who missed the penalty, thank you. The 3 players who unfortunately missed the penalty received racial abuse online and within the game. Regardless of their skin color, it wouldn't determine the outcome of scoring the goal. Maybe they was nervous, maybe they was anxious, millions of people watching around the world. There might not even been warms. It was some of their players' first kick of the ball, but the outcome would not have changed based upon their skin color. Thank you. Did anybody else have an example that you'd like to share today? We are going to get one more. Yes, thank you at the back. Luis Suarez, can you tell us what happened, please? Say that again, sorry? Yeah, okay, so the incident between Luis Suarez and Patrice Evra. Evra, huge personality online. If anybody's got TikTok, please follow him. He's so funny and a real positive role model. But the incident that happened was a racial abuse between Luis Suarez towards Patrick Evra. They're huge rivals. Don't get me, I'm very competitive when I play football. I might pull your shirt, I probably will get a late tackle in, I might get a yellow card, but that's just because football's a contact physical sport. But what we shouldn't do is then kind of break beyond that border and over the line and start racially slurring towards someone else and abuse towards someone else. Thank you everyone for sharing. Once again, it's probably not as clearest to see on the board, but I just want to go through a bit of the history where it stems from. The sad news is I could have got slide after slide after slide after slide of examples of racism that have happened within football. All the way from 1908, Watertool got physically abused based upon the colour of his skin. So not any bad words or language or songs sung at him, but actually got physically hit and punched because of the colour of his skin. Paul Canaville, this guy that you can see in the middle, he's so pivotal at Chelsea Football Club because he's the first ever player of black origin ever to represent Chelsea. Was it a smooth process for him to be the first ever player of black origin? Of course not. During the warm-up, he received racial abuse by our fans. And like I said, Chelsea have unfortunately got a bad history and reputation about our fan base and how we treat players. But we should be empowering Paul Canaville, celebrate him, a trailblazer, a role model, the first person to ever achieve such success from the black community. Looking at more modern examples that we see across Europe and across the world, similar to Sancho, Saka and Rashford, it was the English trio in 2011, Theo Walcott, Ashley Young and Ashley Cole, once again racially abused by opposing fans. What an honour to represent your country. Anybody watch the World Cup? Yeah, probably 99% of people did watch the World Cup. There's a variety of different countries that represent, and people have the opportunity to play for their national team. That's a moment of honour, of pride, of happiness. But once again, that being destroyed based upon the treatment because of someone's skin. And what we see now more across modern society is racism and abuse online. We actually have, if I go back, if I can get this to work, Reece James and Lauren James, who are brother and sister, both received racial abuse online. At the time, Lauren James was at Manchester United, but they both currently play for Chelsea. Two young superstars. Put your hand up if every single day at school you have the best day of your life. Probably not a lot of us. When I go to work, I probably don't deliver the best sessions of my life. Similar to the footballers. They don't score every single game, keep a clean sheet every single game. And unfortunately, sometimes we do have off days. But it doesn't mean that we should go online and receive racial abuse via tweets, images, posts, comments, so on and so forth. And then looking at the harsh reality, so that's a bit of a timeline, the kind of effect and feelings that players do suffer and go through. Like I said, unfortunately, players are not robots. They do have feelings, they do have thoughts, they do have opinions, they do have day-to-day lives, just like anybody else. We can see up here, this is Tyson playing out in Shakhtar Donetsk, physically crying on the pitch. I'd love to touch a pitch and have 50,000 people screaming my name and supporting me. But unfortunately, the abuse he received was very negative. Tyrone Mings, another example of a superstar, plays for Aston Villa, getting his England debut. What a memorable moment. Something that you want to tell your grandchildren about, your next door neighbour, your old teacher that you grew up with. But unfortunately received racial abuse online once again. We've got an example of Saka Jessenier. I'm not sure if you can see what this is down here. This is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, currently a Chelsea player, previously at Arsenal Football Club, had a banana thrown at him during a game. If I'm honest, it's absolutely sickening, terrible behaviour. When we go to football, we should be going to support, if anything, the colour of the badge. If you're a Chelsea fan, you go support the blue team. If you're an Aston Villa fan, you support the burgundy and claret team. If you're an Arsenal fan, hopefully not too many, you support the red team. If you're a Leeds fan, you support the white and yellow team. And we support the colour of the badge rather than the colour of a player's skin. So I would like to have one more conversation. So what do you think the impact can have? Not only on the players, but on fans, on communities, on individuals. What experiences may they go through? What thoughts, feelings, emotions? Of course, they're going to be sad and down. But what is the long-term or short-term impact this could have on their aspirations, their careers, their health, so on and so forth? Is that okay? Lovely, thank you.
I think it can really affect the younger fans, because if they're seeing their role models and their idols getting racially abused, it might affect themselves, because if a person of color is aspiring to be a football player when they're older and they're seeing that their role models and idols are getting harassed constantly, they might think that they'll not be able to make it just because of their skin color, and it might deter them and they might not want to pursue their dream.
100%. And I think That's probably definitely a negative. A young person, we all have role models, people that we look up to. A lot of young people across London, across the country, do dream to be a footballer. And all of a sudden, the people that we look up to, your Sakas, your Rashfords, your Sanchos, those who have been racially abused, you might say, actually, this ain't for me. And people do start to give up on their hopes and their dreams, which means we then start taking away opportunities from the next generation. And unfortunately, we then get stuck in that stigma of, actually, are they right then? It's kind of a catch-22 all of a sudden. And we start going in a direction that we don't want to, where people should actually be breaking down them barriers, breaking down them doors. And like I said, in football, everyone's welcome, everyone's valued, and everyone should feel safe. Thank you all very much for sharing. Let me get my clicker again. I'm not going to go through the next slide too much because it's probably going to be hard to see. But there is a variety of different short and long-term effects this can have on our mental health, our physical health, and our social health. A couple of short-term effects, maybe lack of sleeping, lack of focus and attention whilst receiving education. Then some kind of medium-term effects, isolation. Actually, I'm going to stop going into class. I'm going to stop socializing with my friends based upon the way I've been treated, which then leads, unfortunately, some long-term effects. And this isn't necessarily to scare anyone, but just to put on our radar that some of these actual actions that people from diverse communities receive, especially those on the football pitch, is gamble abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, which can lead to long-term mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. Like I said, hopefully I'm not trying to scare everyone away and think, oh, actually, I'm not going to go play football because I don't want to experience anything like that. But what we should be doing across communities is empowering each other, supporting our peers, building allies, cultivating relationships, so on and so forth. As much as we talk about the negative, what we're very keen at Chelsea to do is definitely talk about the positives that are going about there. If I'm honest, growing up, my mum always used to tell me off because I don't like reading the newspaper and I don't like watching the news. Because in my opinion, there's a lot of media prejudice. You never see any positive stories. It's always negatives, and I just immediately turn it off. But what we should be doing, like I said, is screaming from the top of the roof about people doing positive things and celebrating individuals, whether they're from our community, someone else's community, our next door neighbour, someone that we see on the bus, someone that goes to our school, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to mention some of the positive work that is going around football. I don't know if you can see this down here. So this is on FIFA, on gaming. They're using branding. Can you see that from that angle? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, so the branding that they're using within digital games and marketing now to raise awareness of campaigns. So over the last week, it's been the No Room for Racism campaign across the Premier League. So what did EA Sports do on FIFA? They created a No Room for Racism kit. The language that we see on the banners, no to racism, say no to racism, AC Milan against racism, Black Lives Matter. That then embeds into our unbiased conscience, and it's actually not exactly informed learning that we're receiving, but seeing all this branding is going to stick in our brain. Some of the biggest icons and influencers within football, within sport, who have unfortunately received racial abuse, using their platforms for a positive change. Jadon Sancho, when he scored a winning goal, he took off his top, and underneath he had justice for George Floyd. And sometimes we hear, are players doing enough? Taking a knee, is that really doing enough? And that's definitely up for debate. But when you have players like Jadon Sancho, who's got 3 million followers on Instagram, and he's posting positive messages, that's going to influence the people that look up to him. We see players integrating. So this is a women's game from an international level. And like I said, during the game, they might pull each other's shirt, accidentally clip each other's ankle. But off the game, we're going to show respect. We're going to be humble. We're going to integrate and socialize so we can build allies. So the fans that are watching actually realize, if they're getting along with another player from the opposing team, I might support them as well. Once again, the branding that we see on Premier League shirts with Black Lives Matter as well. This is probably one of my favourite footballs. It's definitely not a football. Pictures of all time in football. This is Gigi Wijnaldum alongside Luc de Jong. Both play for the Netherlands. Actually come together and say, regardless of the colour of our skin, if you're here to watch a game, you're supporting us both. Like I said, very empowering photos and images. So there are some positives going on within sport. Alongside kind of these images, there are positive campaigns that are making a difference across different communities. For example, what Kick It Out kind of says what it is on the tin, tackling racism and discrimination. They do a lot of work within communities, a lot of education activations, supporting grassroots clubs, so our local Saturday, Sunday leagues, all the way to 5 and 7 aside. We have FAIR, which is Football Against Racism across Europe. So we do a lot of work at Chelsea with FAIR, for example, and EFDN. And it's actually building allies on an international stage. So if you are Tyrone Mings, Saka, Rashford and Sancho, Young, Walcott and the other Ashley Cole, and you are going to play in a foreign country, you're going to be accepted, you're going to be celebrated, and not receive any racial abuse. No room for racism. So this is the Premier League campaign, supporting fans, providing opportunities for coaches and staff, educating young people to have a positive change whilst you are at a football stadium, and of course supporting players who receive racial abuse. And last but not least, this is a campaign that we do at Chelsea, like I mentioned before, our No Take campaign, which kind of looks at them for barriers. And campaigns are very important. And sometimes people think, I don't know what a campaign even is. So there's kind of two reasons why we have a campaign. A is to sell a product. And if I say, don't laugh at me for this one, I'll try and make a TikTok out of me. If I say, I'm loving it, what is that? Yeah, very simple. It's a campaign. Straight away, I've sold a product. Everyone's going to go get a Max Frappe after this session, because you know what it is. Is that even a hot drink or cold drink? What did you have earlier? I see you drinking something. It came to my mind. Frappuccino, I was close. Straight away, a campaign can sell us a product. Or B, which is probably more important, especially across communities, schools, education, sport, are campaigns that raise awareness on issues. And that's what we do at Chelsea with our No to Hate campaign. I was going to pose this to the group, but I kind of just touch on a few of the reasons why campaigns are important. A support network for players. Like I said, when we look at racism within football and racism within sport, we need to do more to support the network of superstars. And whether that's the most elite level players at grassroots level and you're having a kick around with your friends, there needs to be a support network where if you receive racial abuse, you can be signposted to an organisation that can support you. So we don't receive some of that mental health issues, social health issues, physical health issues that I previously mentioned. Millions of people actually watch football. I put my hand up. Do I always watch it on BBC Sport or on Sky? No, sometimes my friend might be streaming it and I probably will do with them sometimes. I suppose we're all at fault for doing that. But millions of people do watch football around the world. And that goes back to the conversation. Is taking a knee enough? But what I always say to my friends, it's a conversation starter. If you've never watched a game of football before and you see everyone taking a knee, you're going to say, Alfie, why are they taking a knee? Straight away, that's my opportunity to start having an educational conversation. Because of the incident, what happens in America, there's now the Black Lives Matter campaign. Within football, players are taking a knee to raise awareness. So it might not be enough on the surface level, but it's about the actions and steps that occur next. But with millions of people watching around the world, all the banners around the stadium, on the signs, on the kits, it's going to raise awareness on the issues that we face so we can come together. And when I say the word community, I'm talking about if you're a football fan, you're part of the football community, that we can all have a positive influence. Probably most importantly, it targets to prevent discrimination and racism. Campaigns are there, like I said, to raise awareness, but they actually have action points and steps to kind of reduce. Last but not least, it enables football to become inclusive and celebrate diversity. Like I said, at Chelsea, everyone should be made to feel welcomed, valued, and safe. I'm going to play this very short video. So this is a recent campaign that we've done at Chelsea Football Club to celebrate Black History Month. Like I said, at Chelsea, it's very, very important. And it's one of my core values that we are not tokenistic. That during Black History Month, we don't just change the colour of our Twitter handle and Instagram handle and all of a sudden we've done our job. No, we need to have a difference within the local communities that we work with, across our fan base internationally. And this year, what we've done to celebrate Black History Month, we celebrated our players of Black origin. And how we've done that, rather than celebrating the colour of their skin, going back to what I previously said, we celebrated their iconic shirts. So when you see the shirts, regardless of the player's ethnicity, religion, gender, you're going to know they're pivotal and iconic players. Hopefully, if I just go next, it will play.
When I see those shirts, I do see a journey.
The first shirt is Cannaville, booed by his own fans because of the colour of his skin.
Oh, he's found Cannaville! Chelsea have done it!
I like to say how strong Paul is, didn't let the outside noise affect him.
You are not the bad people and you don't have to be ashamed of this.
The arrival of Ruud Gullit was probably one of the most incredible experiences that I've had.
Gullit!
First black manager to win a trophy.
The FA Cup belongs to Chelsea.
For him to come in and create that whole bubble around Chelsea at the time, wow, that's a massive achievement.
And then the king, Didier Drogba. It was Mr. Big Time.
Drogba! It's in!
Just winning Chelsea's first ever Champions League trophies, going down in history forever.
Didier Drogba. Buries in! Chelsea win the Champions League!
It shows how far we've come for him to be such a figure, a black figure.
Chelsea have worked miracles in terms of promoting black players, showing that they have the heart to be heroes.
There is hope. It gives me confidence as a Chelsea fan that anything is really possible.
That always gives me goosebumps every time I ever see that clip. And I'm one of them people that does watch YouTube quite a lot. I probably am addicted. But that clip of Didier Drogba when he won our first ever Champions League, and it's always, even just then, I got a bit of shivers. Like I said, this was a very short digital campaign to celebrate our players of black origin. Just as a kind of an FYI, just to a kind of for your information, there are different streams to report racism and discrimination at Chelsea Football Club and across football, not only live at the stadium, but more importantly online, which is probably more relevant to young people. All the different social media handles that we may use, from Twitter to Snap to WhatsApp. Does anybody actually know WhatsApp's a social media platform? I didn't realize, because you can post a live status, apparently it's a social media platform. I just thought it was a way to have a group chat with my friends. But across a variety of different digital platforms, there are reporting process. And I don't want to say this to be kind of harsh. I mean, I feel like the younger generation, Generation Y and Z, the millennials, we live in this whole the snitching culture. And I understand if I take your water bottle, hopefully nobody else tells me that I'm taking the water bottle. But when it comes to our identity, something that we should be proud of, I think that's one thing we should always challenge and we should always report. So I didn't know if you had your hand up there. I was just stroking your hair for a sec. Is that a hand up? No, okay, cool. Thank you. So yeah, like I said, we should all have a role to play to ensure that we do challenge and we do report. That might be simply online. You see someone post something negatively, just simply report them. It's not necessarily because you're trying to get someone in trouble, just because you should think the person on the other end, we do not want them to receive any forms of discrimination. A couple of other key things, just as a slight overview. So slowly coming away from racism a little bit, but looking at discrimination as a whole. Stand up against xenophobia, what the message says. Has anybody ever heard of the word xenophobia before? Yeah, so xenophobia, for those who may not know, is actually a prejudice or hate towards someone from a foreign country. So not necessarily based on ethnicity, race, religion, but just based from someone who has come from abroad. And that might be towards refugees or predominantly asylum seekers. Next is looking at discrimination across women and females. Like I said, it is prominent in football, unfortunately. We've seen loads of examples throughout history within sport. But it's actually, we should be empowering young women and girls to be active and to participate in sport, especially it's a passion, it's a love. The reason why I love football, yes, it's great to learn new skills. If I'm honest, I probably did eat a little bit too much cake over Christmas. I got offered a macaroon earlier. I turned it down because I'm trying to be a bit healthy. So it's good to lose a bit of that weight. Yes, it's good for kind of, I want to think about tactics and learn what, if I do a Gurgen press or a low block, how am I going to beat an opposing team? And it's very competitive, which is great. But most important to me, why I love football, it's just for the social. Sometimes I have very long weeks at work. It gets to a Friday afternoon. I try and finish around 4 o'clock. 4:30, I get a call from my boss, Alfred, I need you to have a meeting. I've got about 2 hours more of work. What do I love to do? Go down the park with my friends. Even I'm 27 years old. I still do that now. And we blow off some steam. And it's good for my mental health. Let some stress out. Me and my friends have a laugh. We talk about what's been going on in the world, whether we're watching Love Island, whether there's a viral TikTok video. It's a great way to socialize. And especially as a young woman and a girl, it's great for that physical aspect, but also for that social aspect as well. Football against homophobia, like I said previously, a lot of the work that we do at Chelsea is identifying how we can support people from the LGBTQI plus communities through the Rainbow Laces campaign. But there are another initiatives to make sure actually we try to reduce the impact and the rate of homophobia abuse within football. Last but not least, one more kind of strand that we should kind of just, an FYI, is intersectionality. Anybody ever heard of intersectionality before? Yeah, so intersectionality is like tiered approaches of discrimination. I'll give you an example. Let's try and think of an example from the board. Okay, so we might have someone who is a female. That's one form of discrimination. A female, where did you say your dream place to live was, sorry? Spain. So you might discriminate against someone because they're female and they're from Spain. Straight away, that's gender inequality and xenophobia. You might discriminate against someone because they're female from Spain who might be part of the LGBTQI plus community. So there's 3 layers of discrimination happening straight away, and that's intersectionality, discriminating on more than one characteristic. And unfortunately, like I said, we all play a role to play to ensure we try to reduce and actively promote and celebrate differences. But two of the biggest that unfortunately we still do see across football, across sport, across communities is based upon religious intolerance. Religious intolerance is having a hatred or prejudice against someone because their practices, their beliefs, their opinions, their values. Or on the flip side, actually discriminate against someone because they don't have a religious belief, value, or opinion. So therefore, a lack of. Anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, I'm probably not going to go into it too much. Can gauge you have a good base understanding, but anti-Semitism is the hatred or prejudice to someone from the Jewish community, whereas Islamophobia is the dislike or hatred to someone who may practice Islam or who may be Muslim. And here's a couple of examples that we do see in sport, we do see in football. Like I said, racism is the most rife within football, but religious intolerance does happen. And we need to make sure that we do provide a support network for those who do experience. So this is Mir Bitton, a Celtic player who received anti-Semitic languages and slurs online. We hear about conspiracy theories, what Kanye West is coming out and saying about the NBA and the music world. We need to kind of break down them barriers, break down them stereotypes, remove them negative labels, and actually take someone for face value. Learn about someone, learn about their differences, and actually celebrate the fact that we are all different. This was an example of Mo Salah. This is probably not the best picture here, but he actually received discrimination based upon his religion in the World Cup against, I won't mention what country it was against, but based upon his religious beliefs, he received discrimination. And sometimes we actually need to appreciate that people who do have religious beliefs sometimes have different barriers and challenges to even play football and sport. For example, when people are fasting, for example, if you're an elite footballer and you're playing on a Wednesday night, Saturday afternoon, back again on a Monday evening. You might then play on a Thursday. Arsenal normally play on a Thursday in the Conference League, not Chelsea, where Tuesday, Wednesday, Champions League. Then you might play on a Sunday again, so on and so forth. But during the period where people are fasting, we need to actually appreciate that some people do face different challenges. And actually, during a game, if someone's breaking their fast, okay, let's have a 5-minute break so they can take on fluids, they can take on some food. And it's just that respect towards someone else. Very similar to someone who may be Jewish. This is something I've recently learned, myself, to be honest. Jewish people who practice Judaism on a Friday will not use electricity or public transport. If you're playing for Celtic, like Bitton is, for example, and you're going to play your local derby against Rangers, and it's against your beliefs to travel on the night before, is actually what does the club do to support someone who has a different religious or belief? So it's actually providing opportunities, equal opportunities for all. And just actually, like I said, at face value, just respect someone for their differences. And it's not wrong to ask a question. Sometimes I feel like we live in a culture where I don't ask a question just in case I offend someone. But if we don't ask each other's questions to learn about each other, then we will remove that opportunity to celebrate. Once again, like I said, even though we talk about negatives, it's very important that we do talk about the positives. And I'm going to have to look at my screen here for just a minute. Like I said, no to hate what we do at Chelsea. We've won multiple awards. By the way, I'm going to keep promoting Chelsea and the good work that we do. We've won multiple awards and do multiple initiatives and programs to support people from different religions, different communities, so on and so forth. In this bottom picture here, this is Adi Reisman, who actually paid tribute to the Munich 11 who died. So they died basically, let's not go into the story too much, because of their religious beliefs, actually got killed. And during the ceremony, during the Olympics, she raised awareness of the issue. Very similar to, here it says Baltimore stands with Pittsburgh. So the incident that happened in Pittsburgh, so this is to honor the victims from the Tree of Life. So once again, the mass murder and execution of people from the Jewish faith. So once again, bringing fans together, showing actually, pardon the pun, we did have a program called Stand Together, but actually bringing these different fans from different states, different teams together to raise awareness on an issue. Here we actually, if I scroll down just in my notes a little bit, sorry, bear with me. I forget everyone's name. So this is Enes Qatar. This is him in a Portland jersey, I do know, but whilst he was at Boston Boston Celtics. He actually does initiatives, uses his profile, his influence to raise awareness once again on anti-Semitism. And then the different initiatives that we see to support players who may be from a Muslim faith and practice Islam. Once again, like I said, you're not necessarily going to know every single thing about everyone in your class, on your table, in your team, but at a base level, we should at least respect the differences across religion. Just before, let me just quickly take the time. Perfect. Okay, I am going to end on a kind of a positive video today. This is two iconic plays for Chelsea. We have Paul Cannaville, who is the first ever player of black origin, like I mentioned, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's currently on loan at Bayern Leverkusen, but the reason why he's iconic at Chelsea, he's been there since he was 6 years old. And sometimes we forget, Chelsea's in a very high elite club and you can't just walk into the academy. There's loads of steps, loads of barriers, loads of challenges, not even based upon the colour of your skin or any of your characteristics, but even just based upon your ability. But he's actually been at the club since he was 6 years old and persevered into the men's team. And having kind of a humble, open conversation. Like I said, sometimes we don't challenge each other enough. We don't talk about the barriers and challenges that we may face. We don't talk about the positives and celebrate each other enough. But it's just kind of a transparent conversation, discuss racism within sport.
For me, you know what, I have to say, it's what my parents went through. I was proud to be black, and it was so difficult when they came over in the Windrush. For me, you know what, I have to say, it's what my parents went through. I was proud to be black, and it was so difficult when they came over in the Windrush that my mum wanted to better herself and found it difficult. This shouldn't have to get in the way.
Of course.
Yeah? I don't understand it, and it's still continuing to this very day. And that's why I thought of you. What do you mean, how do you feel?
No, for me, I love my colour. I love being black, and I hope every black person out there should feel the same way. I feel like, as you said, my parents went through a lot when they came into this country, obviously, especially knowing that they're black. Sometimes you might have to fight harder for certain things than other people would. And for me, I say to myself, no matter what you're doing or who you are, if you're black, be strong, be yourself, respect yourself, and just fight for your colour.
Yeah, for me, breaking into the first team, it's funny because I always read the game like before it even played, like what am I gonna do? I'm gonna get this ball. You know what I mean? And that's what I thought. It was just me, and I thought, come on and commonly. But you know what? That day was a surprise that shocked me and knocked me for six, because a young lad, a young black lad, was warming up after he's given a nod from the manager and warming up. He said, yeah, I'm ready, I'm gonna strip off. And then I started to hear this racist abuse.
You want to look at them and you want to give a reaction to them.
Yeah.
But sometimes you giving them a reaction makes them feel like we want to do more. We want to carry on doing it to you because we're giving you, you're basically giving us what we want.
Yeah.
You're giving us that reaction of looking at us and making it feel like we're winning.
And it does affect. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I went home thinking, what did I do wrong? What can I do better? It's what we got to do. And it shouldn't have to be in your situation where you young players have to come through that same abuse.
I think that there's got to be a massive change. And we keep saying it every day in, day out. We got to change something in football, because you don't want to feel that type of way about anything. Whether it is in the stadium and you're hearing racist abuse, or you're on social media and you're seeing racist abuse, you shouldn't be hearing that at all, no matter what it is. Our skin colour should never affect football.
I love watching you play, and it does give me a buzz. Chelsea, they realise what they got in you, and that's what you're there.
And obviously, Paul, as well, wanted to say I appreciate everything you've done in the past, for everything that's happened, all the stories that I've heard and read about. I really appreciate the way you handle your situations. You've made a big statement for everybody to understand that black players can come through and they can make a name for themselves, and they should be proud of their skin colour.
You know what? I think both of us have got to use our platform. We've got to use our voice, and yeah, effectively trying to eradicate this racism. And it's not just in sport, it's in society as well.
100%.
So I believe in that.
Okay, so like I said, a very short clip and a very short video. a conversation of different generations actually coming together to discuss the barriers and challenges. And that's something I think we should openly and often do. So we can reflect, what are our similarities? What are our differences? Can we help each other and build allies across our journey? And like I said, to finish off, celebrating both of their achievements. That is going to bring to the end of my session. Hopefully, like I said, it was just more of a kind of education activation, just to get some knowledge about the examples of different forms of discrimination, and in particular racism that we do see across the football pitch and sport. As Sir said earlier, it sounds like you guys are doing great and young ambassadors, and we need more younger role models across different communities. So use your voices. Use the platforms and the position that you are in to spread a positive message. Like I said, we all have a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose, and if that is yours, supporting a peer, supporting someone within your local community, then I definitely advocate you myself. Thank you for your time. If anybody has got any questions, please let me know. I'll stick around for a bit. I do have a very short question here. I don't expect everyone to do it.